Our guest today was born in Bulgaria, grew up in the U.S., where she began exhibiting her work at the age of 14. Please join me in welcoming today's guest of honor, Vassia Alaykova, colorist, artist, illustrator, and the new mother to her best work of art, 6-month-old Ellie. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for coming. I'm very happy to have all of you here and to share my work and a little bit of my story, how I became an artist. And since I will quote one of my favorite artists to start with and my inspiration since I was a child, Chagall. And he said, "There's only one color, and that's the color of love." And my work is all about love. Even though I have so many colors going on, for me, my inspiration is love and nature, and not love between two people, but love, family love, love in nature, the rebirth, the whole transformation that happens from this amazing feeling. So I'm trying to do this. Paintings coming out from emotion, from my heart. I don't really have an idea to start with, but it's just channeling whatever my emotions at the moment are. And whatever I've collected from inspiration. Inspiration is all around me. Meeting people, walking in nature, I listen to a lot of classical music and opera. And this is one thing that really inspires me. Sometimes I would just put the radio and whatever classical pieces on, I will just use it as inspiration to paint. So my story is, when I was 10 years old, my father is an artist, a prominent artist in Eastern Europe, and he was an activist, political activist during the communist time. And he never wanted me to be an artist. He said it's such a difficult profession, to be an artist, and we should really do something else with your life. And my mom is the opposite. She is the business person in the family, and he really hoped that I would be like my mother, which I am in a way, but I have the sensibility of my father when it comes to art. And at the age of 10, one of my dreams was to apply to become a ballerina, to become a ballet dancer. And unfortunately, I was not accepted in ballet school because during communist time, it wasn't really free. You go into a school and you do what you have to do, and they would accept you. No, if your parent or your grandparent is politically incorrect, you immediately go in this list. So, I was the daughter of this person. So they did not accept me. I was heartbroken. We took a train from this beautiful city to the city where I was born, to the capital city, and then we traveled, and all the way home I was crying. And then my mother said, "Why don't you try to paint? If you want to be an artist, why don't you paint?" I said, "No, I am not interested in painting. I want to be a ballerina." And it's like, "Why don't we try a school in Moscow?" And during this time, we were very close. We were part of the communist bloc. And I applied for ballet school. I wasn't accepted. So I was like, okay, it wasn't meant to be. And then I started painting, slowly kind of getting into fine art. And my father left the country politically. He was a political refugee, so he escaped the country by boat with another friend. They went to Italy, Greece, Italy, and then Germany. He stayed there. I did not see him for a few years. And I kind of prepared for myself. We have this special art school. So when you're at the age of 12, you apply for an art school and you're accepted. And if you're accepted, they prepare you in the traditional kind of very traditional European style of painting and drawing. Like the Italian, the Queen Florence, the way Michelangelo and Leonardo studied. but it's very, very difficult to get in as well. But somehow I got in. I was on 5th in the whole country, and there were like around 500 people. So by grade, I was really on one of the top. And then I started painting and painting, and I moved to the United States. My father finally got he got a green card. He became a political refugee. We moved to the United States, and I was age 14, and I continued painting. So when I came here, I created my own style. Somehow I kind of got away from the traditional drawing and painting because it was not interesting for me. I was looking for exactly to kind of put my emotions out there. And this was constraining me, it was too technical. So I kind of created my own style, which is kind of very flowy, and it's very inspired by things I see around me. Music and art books of different artists, of Picasso, Chagall, Matisse, things that I've seen as I was growing up, because I was raised in a very kind of artistic, intellectual house where there were books available, where music was playing all the time. So for me, somehow this, whatever you experience as a child and the way you were raised, everything just stays somewhere on the back of your mind and it comes out as an adult. And for me, it came out in this kind of very interesting shapes and colors. And I was just continued to paint, and then I went to high school. I was accepted in high school. I mean, I went to high school, and I was accepted in college. I moved to the East Coast from California, and I continued painting here. So this is an early work of, I was 14 years old when I did this work. Yeah, I was 14, and these are larger pieces. These are half of this size. And I had my first exhibition in California when I was 15 in a gallery in Berkeley. And I kept painting, and I was selling my work at a very early age. It was quite successful. And then when I moved to Boston, I continued working. I tried different mediums like sculpture, and I explored a little bit of, some modern dance, which I always have movement in my work, even though it's not somehow through color or the fluidity of my work. It has a movement, which movement has always interested me. And then I traveled for a while. I went to India. I lived in India. Then I was in Israel for a while because my roots. I wanted to get in touch with the culture there. So this India, and then I was in Spain a little bit. So these 3 trips that I made, long trips in my life, were the ones that really influenced me also in my work, in my latest work. So that's kind of short, my long story short, the story of my life. How I've become an artist. Probably I was pushed a little bit by my mom, and I'm thankful to her. And I'm really thankful to her. Mom, thank you. I mean, I didn't listen to you about many things, but I'm glad I listened to you about that. Yeah, and I'm glad I'm not a ballerina right now, even though it's still my passion. But right now, so for a period of 10 years, I've stopped painting because I got into graphic design. So I was doing graphic design for a while, and about 5-6 years ago I started getting back into painting. So these are some of the pieces after this long break from art. And they're kind of very fluid, more watercolor. My main medium is watercolors. I've always been interested in watercolors because it creates the kind of this lucid fluidity, and it's very magical and kind of like almost like a fairy kind of tale feeling. So this is one of the pieces, and this one as well. And quite of these pieces I have sold as well. This is called The Kiss. And then this one as well, the kind of more magical as well. And these are all emotions and like experiences that I've collected through my travels, through living abroad, through meeting people. It's just about color and emotion. This is a larger piece. And this is one piece that I created a few years ago. I wanted to experiment, and I'm very interested in nature and organics lately. So my new work is more kind of fluid and organic. And nature interests me because I find beauty in it, obviously, especially in the spring when everything is blooming. Even in the wintertime when everything is just black and white, there's some calmness and beauty in it. And I'm very affected by what's going on, the global warming, the things that affect nature. So one idea was to this is one of the first paintings that kind of brought me to kind of working more with the natural elements, like florals. And here I was trying to create like cells with like figures inside, and how we human beings are part of this big system. I would call this Earth, the system of the Earth. We are part of this little cell, which is a big cell, but we are part of it. So I kind of placed these little human beings inside of these squares to show that we are part of this vast system, and without us, it cannot exist. The Earth cannot exist, because every one of us is part of the Earth, and if we don't take care of it, then it falls apart. So I had a little idea about this painting, so that's why I painted something like this. And this is the first painting from this style, which is kind of my new style, I would call that. And I started this style a year and a half ago. I moved to New York a couple of years ago, from Boston, Cambridge. And this is the work that I was inspired very much by Italian Renaissance paintings. I spent some time in Italy as well, in Florence, and I was very much just walking on the street and going to the museums. There's some beauty in this Italian, the Botticelli's art, and Michelangelo. It's kind of the modern classics. So that's what inspired me. And then I just started creating. That was my inspiration. Again, the Florentine art, and in nature, I use a lot of floral shapes and like patterns, and I use elements like I wanted to also make a contrast between the color and the background. So I use a lot of black lately in my paintings, because I needed. Probably this comes from graphic design, being a designer. With graphic design, it's all about contrast, and somehow subconsciously I have translated that into my latest art. And this painting is called Mother, and this was right before I got pregnant with my baby Ellie, with my daughter. This painting was actually very much inspired. I mean, I wanted to have a baby. And I was just inspired by this woman, creating this woman that is like, she's a mother, but she's also like a fairy, kind of like a fairy floating into space, and kind of very magical. Because for me, motherhood is carrying a baby is something it's not easy. It wasn't easy, but it was very, very magical. It's like a story. You tell a story through bringing another human being to the earth. Some of my projects, these are some of I have a few more latest pieces that are not here, that are the same size as this painting. And this one as well. So I was trying to experiment with floral shapes outside of the body, and then floral shapes contained in the body. And this was my inspiration. A little bit came from, again, the emotion, feelings, painting people's nature, but also like the Russian matryoshki, the little dolls, painted dolls, So that's kind of an idea here as well. And this is another, after this florals contained within the shape, I decided why don't I experiment and make something more contemporary. So I'm trying, my work is going into more contemporary kind of feel. I want to break away from the illustrative feeling, but go into more contemporary. And the way to make that is to kind of to play more with black and white and with negative and positive space. So here I have the floral shapes like a pattern on the background, and then the body is just like white and black. And then this is another piece. As you can see, my development from something that's a piece of art that's more like an illustration, and it's getting more into being more abstract type of an art. And this is my latest piece, which is quite large. It's 50 by 60. It's a watercolor. And then it has, again, this kind of play with colors, but then this more black and white shapes, which makes it more modern and contemporary looking. And this is a painting, one of the first paintings of this series here. And this painting is right now in Verona, Italy. It's in the house of a famous opera singer in Italy. She bought this painting, and I have some puzzles that I've created, and they are for sale. We are launching our puzzle line. We are on Etsy, but we are going to open an Amazon account and try to get into a few boutique stores here in Manhattan and in Cambridge and in Europe. Probably we'll try. My husband is Hungarian and Romanian, so we'll try Eastern Hungary first. Budapest will be a good market, I think, in Eastern Europe for that. And then we'll try Italy and some other places. But for now, we'll try like Manhattan. While I was pregnant, I did not do much of large-scale paintings, but I have done tons of small drawings that you can take a look at. They're right here on the table. And another project I'm working on is a coloring book, but a coloring book that's a piece of art. So a piece of art in the form of a coloring book, not just a coloring book that people can cover, something that you have on your table and you open it. It's just beautiful. You can take a look, and you don't even have to color it. It's just a form of art. And it's right here, and it's 62 pages. I have a literary agent that's working with me, an agent. So we are trying to publish it. We have 2 good leads, so hopefully we'll have it published in the next 6 months to 1 year. And we are going to try to promote it to museum shops. And the idea here is to have an accordion type of a coloring book. And if you look at the illustrations, it's one long story. So it starts, if you put them on the floor, on the wall, you just go through it. It's a long story. And the story is about love. The name of the book is Coloring for Love. And within each illustration, there are hidden words, and all these words that are hidden are all connected to love. For example, we have feeling, we have kiss, we have winter. So there are all these words that are hidden within the very kind of whimsical and intricate illustrations. So once you start coloring or looking at the page, you see like there are words which are kind of really hidden. If you take a look close, I'll pass one of the books around, so you can take a look. Yeah. So that's one project I'm working on right now, and then we have the puzzles. So the most amazing thing is my daughter right now, of course, and I'm putting that's the biggest creation in my whole entire life, and I'm so excited about her. I've been so excited about her the past 6.5 months. Actually, she'll be 7 soon on the 26th. That I wouldn't say I haven't had interest. I haven't painted as much. just because I've been putting my energy into her. And now I have this desire really to start, and I have started working on 2 large scale pieces like this one that are, I think, very much inspired by her. These pieces here are actually made for textiles. That's another thing I forgot I'm doing, is getting into patterns and textiles. So we are trying to create some textiles for, it's a little bit more commercial. It's about bed sheets and pillowcases, and maybe we will get into some children's kind of clothing textiles, like doing patterns. And this is one of the new pieces that I've created for a textile as well. So this is some of my new work, very colorful, exactly. And this will be good for probably like bed sheets or even pillows for the house. And you can take a look at some of these. I'll pass this around as well. Thank you.